This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Warrenville Public Works and Infrastructure Committee of the Whole regular meeting. It is Monday, April 10th, 2023. This Committee of the Whole meeting will be conducted in the traditional in-person format. Please note that the public comment will only be available in person during the meetings. The remote meeting access is for viewing purposes only. Those viewing the meeting remotely will not be able to provide public comment via the remote meeting access. Clerk, can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Rommel,
Here.
Alderman Ashour,
Here.
Alderman Berry,
Here?
Alderman Davalos,
Here.
not present in person. Alderman Goodman,
Here.
Alderman Crucial,
Here.
Alderman Kruckenberg,
Here.
Alderman Lockett,
Here.
Alderman Widener, not present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. If you would all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There it is. Okay, please, there's a notice that Alderman Davalos we received a notice from Alderman Davalos in accordance with the electronic attendance policy. Due to personal illness, the alderman requests to attend electronically. The alderman will be deemed authorized to attend the meeting electronically unless a motion objecting to the member's electronic attendance is made, seconded, and approved by 2/3 of the members of the public body physically present at the meeting. Does anyone wish to make a motion? Hearing no objections, I declare the requested member, Alderman Davalos, present. Okay, on to citizens' comments. Do we have anyone that has signed up for a citizen's comment? No. Okay. Also, if anyone would like to make a citizen's comment on any of the items that are listed on item F during the business of the meeting, just let us know and you can come up to the podium and make a comment. Officials and staff comments. Mayor?
Thank you. I have nothing this evening.
Okay. City Administrator? Okay. Alderman? Okay, we have no comment. Staff? Okay, no comment. Okay. Then I guess on to the business of the meeting. Number one, consideration of new event for FY 2024 Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission Work Plan. We have Kristen Youngmeyer, please. Management Analyst Youngmeyer.
All right, good evening, Council. So in an effort to encourage and promote safe walking and biking in the community, the Bicyclist and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, or as you know, BPAC, requests approval of their new proposed work plan initiative to coordinate a fall trash pickup event along a pathway in Warrenville. There's two locations they're looking at, either having volunteers meet here to do cleanup along the Illinois Perry path. The other location they're looking at is potentially along the path by the West Branch DuPage River, having a meeting location at Cerny Park. They thought this would be a nice event to kind of mirror what the Illinois Prairie Path does in the spring and have a fall cleanup before the snow comes down. And they also saw this as a way to encourage biking and walking by helping keep our wonderful pathways beautiful and free of debris. So if there's any questions, Chair Harlan Davis is here, and I'd be happy to take them as well.
Okay, and the Alderman have any comments or questions? Alderman Goodman.
I
only have one comment. I announced a Prairie Path Trail cleanup a couple of weeks ago at the meeting, and I'd like to pass along this flyer to Harlan so that you can take it to the BPAC meeting tomorrow and share the information with anyone who might be interested. It's not coming up till the end of April, so there's still plenty of time for volunteers to get involved and clean our Prairie Path this spring, because after the winter, that does tend to really need it. So thank you so much for your interest in this effort. I think it's a great idea.
And just to add to that quickly, one of the commissioners is the point of contact helping out with Illinois Prairie Path. So we're
Involved,
working
very involved.
with multiple agencies. So that's a nice partnership.
Mayor Brummel?
Chairman, I know you're a true biker through and through because you have. I know you're a true biker through and through because you're wearing your Apple Cider Century T-shirt. Congratulations.
Any other John? Alderman Lockett?
If there's no other comments, I'd like to make a motion that City Council approve the addition of the new initiative to the fiscal year 2024 Bicyclist and Pedestrian Advisory Commission Work Plan.
We have a motion by Alderman Lockett and a second by Alderman Kruckenberg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Number 2, consideration of a consultant contract to assist the city with ERP software selection. This would be Public Works Director Phil Kugler.
Thank you and good evening. As council is aware, the current or recent enterprise resource planning software implementation was not successful, and the city is currently negotiating to end that contract. At the same time, an internal work group consisting of staff and Alderman Goodman and Alderman Krischel have evaluated consultants and interviewed a couple of consultants and are ultimately recommending approval of a contract with Baycor Group to help assist the city with selection of various software solutions that will meet the requirement and kind of form an overall ERP system for the city and all the departments across the city. There was a decision package included in the fiscal year 24 budget for this project, and I do want to note that the contract that is included in the backup, with the agenda backup materials, is in draft form. Staff and the consultant are on the same page in terms of the scope and fees, but the city attorney and Baycor's attorney need to iron out a few of the contract details. So that's going to be happening in the next couple of days, and we anticipate having a finalized version of this contract on an upcoming city council agenda for approval. And with that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Alderman Goodman?
Can I ask Attorney Lenneman if the details in the contract are at all significant or substantial?
No, the items that need to be ironed out are not of any concern. I don't foresee any issue with getting those worked out.
Okay, because I noticed some of, the fee provisions make us responsible for delays and things like that.
Yes.
Increase the fees, of course, if we aren't responsive enough. And I know that the timing on this is going to be very much dependent on how much staff time is available to deal with this project as it goes on. So I know that's been difficult in the past and will probably be difficult going forward. So I just wondered if any of the contract negotiation that was outstanding had to do with changing that part.
Well, regarding the fees, sorry, I was a little bit confused because I believe that the contract is actually a fixed price contract. So they have responded to complete all of the tasks that are listed in the scope of work for that fixed price. There are some, provisions that could increase the price if we're responsible for delays, which are, some of those are subject to negotiation. But the overall price of the contract is not a time and materials contract, correct, City Administrator? So I just want to clarify that.
The part I'm referencing is in the scope of services, page 9, where there's a whole bunch of, rates for extra days if there are delays.
Right, of course. So yes, we've submitted a red line of the contract to Baycor. We have a meeting set on Wednesday to hash out the last details, but I think that we are working to make protect the city from increased costs.
Okay, I know that, sometimes delays are caused by staff and sometimes delays are not, and there can be disputes about who
Yes.
caused a particular delay. And I feel like this is a bit of a sore point just because of our existing ERP problems. So I just wanted to be sensitive to that if possible.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. On that point, I would need a motion. Alderman Goodman?
Okay, I was on the work group that chose Baycor. I was happy with their proposal. I think they seem like they're going to hopefully do a good job helping us pick better ERP solutions going forward. It was a very competitive application process. There were other good applicants too. But I would like to make a motion to recommend the City Council pass a resolution approving an agreement with Baycor Group Incorporated for ERP software selection consulting services for an amount of $167,300.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Goodman and a second by Alderman Kruckenberg. No, Kreschel, excuse me. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Number 3, consideration of ordinance prohibiting use of groundwater at the Old Town redevelopment site number 2 and Votel's property. Senior Civil Engineer Hocking.
Thank you very much and good evening. At the January City Council meeting, City Council directed staff to move forward with the next steps as outlined in staff's memo for Old Town redevelopment site number 2, otherwise known as OTRS number 2. One of the items was for City Council to approve a limited area groundwater ordinance that prohibits the installation and use of potable water supply wells on the site, which is the former Citgo site, as well as the adjacent Votel property in accordance with IEPA requirements. In the backup information is a draft of that ordinance, as well as an exhibit that shows the limits of where that groundwater restriction ordinance would be limited to, as well as obviously a survey description of those properties specifically. This is the first step in addressing the contamination on the site. Our consultant currently is putting together a remediation plan, and a draft of this ordinance needs to be included with that submittal to the IEPA. The IEPA does have to review it. They'll give their blessing, and then this ordinance will come back at a city council meeting for final approval. And so those are kind of the next steps in this process. Obviously, the city is one site, the Votel's property is another. I met with Joe Votel last week to bring him a copy, obviously, of the ordinance and talk with him about what the ordinance exactly means. As Ron and I have presented before, the Votels are currently hooked into city water, and the DuPage County Health Department, once you're connected into city water, does not allow you to build a new well on your site. So this is more of a formality since that property is already connected to city water, and then once the city develops this property, obviously we would connect to water as well. So this is just, like I said, one of the steps for the IEPA approval of the remediation plan, and with that, I'd like to take any questions.
Thank you. Questions, Alderman? Comments? Alderman Goodman.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend the City Council pass an ordinance prohibiting the use of groundwater at the Old Town redevelopment site number 2 and the Votel's property.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Goodman and a second by Alderman Lockett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Number 4, consideration of staff recommended updates to the Enterprise Maintenance and Replacement Plan, the EMRP. Director Kukler.
Thank you. The memo that's included with the agenda backup materials details the updates to the Enterprise Maintenance and Replacement Plan asset costs. The basic increases were related to a 3.07% escalator that was calculated by Finance Director Dahlstrand. It's the 10-year average of the Municipal Cost Index, and was incorporated into the costs. And then infrastructure that was constructed by developers and accepted by the city during the last year was also incorporated into added into the MRP. The majority of the increase is actually related to the annual escalator. There was not a lot of infrastructure added this past year, but there was some. With that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Alderman Goodman.
I think Director Kukler made the only point I was going to make, which is that 83% of this increase is the escalator for inflation and expected increase in costs, which is 3.07%. So that's mostly what's happening here. There's very little increase overall. When I first saw the 3.7, we haven't always included an escalator, so people looking backward might think this is a much larger jump than in some years, but actually it's a very small increase. So I would like to make a motion to recommend that the City Council accept the updates to the Enterprise Maintenance and Replacement Plan per the staff memo dated April 5th, 2023, and direct staff to incorporate those adjustments into an updated EMRP document.
Second.
I have a motion by Alderman Goodman, and was that Alderman Lockett? Okay, second by Alderman Lockett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Number 5, rolling along. Consideration of staff recommended updates to the Capital Maintenance and Replacement Plan, the CMRP. Director Kukler.
Thank you again. Similar to the last item, this is an annual update for the CMRP instead of the EMRP. And the 3.07% escalator was incorporated, as well as any developer constructed improvements that were accepted by the city during the last year. Most of the cost increase, though, because this is a much larger increase relative to the CMRP from last year, is an increase in the concrete prices or unit prices that the staff uses for replacements. And the main reason those increased significantly were the old prices just included the cost for replacing the concrete. So the sidewalk with nothing else, like you could just pick the square sidewalk up and put it down without disturbing anything, or same thing with the curb and gutter. But in reality, when a contractor removes sidewalk, they're going to disturb landscaping around it, and there's some landscape restoration associated with it. And then when curb and gutters was removed, they cut out a piece of the pavement too and patch that full depth and do some landscape restoration. So the costs that were included in this year's update better reflect the actual cost for replacing individual pieces of concrete. So that was a significant part of the cost, but I think both these documents are living and breathing documents that evolve over time, and I think they were good to start with, and we continue to improve upon them from year to year as we learn more on what money we spend on these improvements and how long they last. So with that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you. Questions, comments by the Alderman? Alderman Goodman.
I think Director Kukler has answered my questions about this. So I would like to make a motion to recommend the City Council accept the updates to the Capital Maintenance and Replacement Plan per the staff memo dated April 5th, 2023, and direct staff to incorporate those adjustments into an updated CMRP document.
A motion by Alderman Goodman and a second by Alderman Kruckenberg. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Number 6, consideration to order 5 Dodge Durango police pursuit vehicles. Director Kukler, please.
Thank you. As we've been discussing several times over recent months, the ordering environment for vehicles and equipment is pretty challenging still. The ordering windows pop up suddenly without much warning, and they close quickly in many cases. Last month, council approved the purchase or ordering of 4 Dodge Durango police pursuit vehicles for fiscal year 24 replacements. That order window is still open. Superintendent Clark checked with the vendor this afternoon, and the window's still open. It is filling up though, so the window's closing. I don't know when it'll close. It could be tomorrow. It could be 3 weeks from now. It really depends on how many agencies order. Staff's requesting council's authorization to place the fiscal year 25 replacement order in the near future. With one caveat. First of all, that's 5 vehicles that are scheduled for fiscal year 25. But the one big caveat to that is we have 4 bid openings for projects that are paid with CMRP dollars this month, and they're large projects. So staff is going to take the time to evaluate the bids on those projects and see if they're favorable to the city or not. review that information with the finance director. And if they are favorable to the city and the finance director is confident that we have enough fund balance in the CMRP, then staff would like to place the order for those vehicles. However, if the bids come in higher than expected or higher than budgeted, then there's no way we can justify placing that order at this point, and we would wait on that. And part of the reason for the urgency on this too is that while this ordering window is open, once it closes, we don't know when the next one will open. We still do not have a delivery date for the Ford vehicles that were ordered last September. And we did receive word today on the Dodges that they will be built this year, but there's no specific delivery date on those yet either. We anticipate the city will probably receive those late this calendar year, early next calendar year. And so if we were to place this order for the fiscal year 25 vehicles, we anticipate that would be a couple months later than the order we just placed. So it'd probably be very late in the fiscal year 24 at the very earliest. And it's very possible we don't receive that order until fiscal year 25. So and there's a second part to this too. Staff has already been, I want to get council authorization to continue using the process, at least temporarily, that we've been using with the last couple of vehicle orders, which is once one of these windows opens and we learn of it, if there's a scheduled vehicle replacement, that staff can just go ahead and place that order and then come back to council for formal approval of that at the next available committee of the whole and city council meeting sequence. That's what we've effectively been doing for the last couple of orders anyway. I just wanted to think it makes sense to have council authorize us to continue to do that until such a time that the ordering process becomes more predictable. And at some point it's going to, I just don't know when. But at some point we will be able to go back to the way we should be doing things, which is to get a quote from a vendor, come back to city council, or come to city council and request authorization to place an order and then place the order after council approves it. Things are just a little bit weird right now, so I'd like to have council's authorization to continue doing what we're doing until things are normalized. So with that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you. Alderman Lockett.
Does Tesla make? I'm just kidding. Just trying to find somebody that'll give us police vehicles, right? So we have enough flexibility with that, right? Can we cancel? I mean, what you're saying, if we order these 5, you're gonna wait to order them, or you're gonna order them now, wait, see how the bids come through, and then make the final call, right?
We're not gonna place the order until we know that the bids come in favorably for the city, so. And by favorably, I do mean like at what we budgeted or below.
Okay.
So, I did include it in the memo that's with the agenda backup materials, but the first bid opening was last week for the square courts, and the city's share of those costs is $108,000 lower than what we budgeted, so that's 1 down and 3 to go. We've got 2 bid openings tomorrow for the annual road program and the East Side Storm Sewer project. So we'll see how those come in too. And then there's a bid opening on April 28th that is an IDOT bid opening for the Batavia Road project that is west of 59.
But for the 4 that we already ordered, the Ford Explorers, we're stuck with those, right? We can't get out of those?
We could cancel the order, but I don't think it hurts to.
Yeah, I agree. I think you just let it go a little while, but I mean, if we could get vehicles sooner, you know what I mean? If they keep pushing everything out, and we could pivot and get something, because it's something that we need readily, pretty quickly, correct?
Yeah, the Fords are for the fiscal year 23 replacements, which fiscal year 23 ends April 30th. The Dodges that we ordered already are for the fiscal year 24 replacements, and we're anticipating that'll be the middle to late fiscal year 24 before we receive those. I don't know that ordering Dodges now instead of the Fords they're gonna come in any sooner.
Right. Okay. All right, thank you.
Alderman Kukler. Krischel.
Thank you. So there's 2 orders open right now, right?
Correct.
And there's 4, and what was the other number? How many?
It's 8 total, 4.
And then these
each.
5 would be 13?
Yep.
What does that do if they do all get delivered, like the end of this year? Is that gonna mess up the CMRP where now we have 13 vehicles to replace in 5 years?
I don't know if it'll screw it up. We're gonna have to be careful about order. We're not
Can
gonna
we
order 13 vehicles again.
Stretch some
all the same
out
year.
or?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, already the ones that are due this year already,
Right.
they're pushing limits of like mileage that we haven't seen before. So
Right.
we're expecting there'd be some failures of different things that we just don't typically fail in the 3 or 4 years we have the vehicles.
Okay.
So that,
Alderman Goodman. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Alderman Kukler. Krokenberg.
I'll answer to anything.
Okay, good. Alderman Kay.
Are we still considering hybrids as an option? Or is that,
So with the current order, we can't. Dodge does not manufacture hybrid police pursuit vehicles, but our intent is when Ford starts producing them, again, in a way that we can order them, is to order hybrids again.
okay.
They just haven't been
curious.
available.
Thank you.
Now, Alderman Goodman.
I share Alderman Krokenberg's concerns. I think if we're locked into 13 non-hybrid vehicles all at once, that we are ordering in a very short period of time, when the police chief has told me, and I know he's not here to answer these questions, which I would probably prefer to ask him, he's told me if he could buy all hybrid vehicles from now on going forward, that would be his preference. So I'm concerned that buying another 5 vehicles now, putting in this order expected for fiscal year 2025, locks us in for a very long period. And if we're going to be waiting that long, we might as well wait long time for something we actually want, or something we want more. I guess you probably can't answer that question, but what's wrong with waiting longer for something we actually want for the hybrid vehicles, which we've tried to order now for a couple years?
Other than we don't know when they'll be offered, I mean, Ford hasn't even fulfilled the regular engine vehicles from last time.
Exactly, so
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like we're getting ahead of things by changing to the gas vehicles for our ordering. That doesn't feel like it's getting us any further along.
Then the vehicle, I don't know, the time we have these vehicles is 3 or 4 years. The 3 years with the non-hybrids, the turnaround on that is not, we're not locked in for a lot of years on this. I guess is my point in saying that. It'll be, for any of these vehicles we order now, it'll be 3 years, and then they'll have to be replaced in the next 3 to 4 years again.
Well, yes, I know
Yeah.
one thing that staff has said, that Mr. Clark, I think, put together for us, was that the hybrid vehicles would probably have an estimated lifespan of 4 years,
Yes.
and the gas vehicles only 3. So I'm very concerned about the effect on the CMRP that Alderman Krischel was talking about. If you are buying a whole lot of vehicles at once, and they're the vehicles that have the shorter lifespan, we haven't been getting the vehicles for a while. We've been having to make do. I suppose I would like to know more about how that has gone, and in terms of spacing out the purchases to allow us to wait a little bit for the vehicles that we actually want, whether that's feasible, since we've had to do it anyway, how that's been going. Again, Phil, you're probably not the person I want to be asking these questions of, but
Jamie, do you have information about any additional maintenance that's had to be done? And do you have a microphone back there?
I would have to get that from the police department.
So we can get that information from the police department and consider that as part of this process before we would place an order.
another thing that concerns me about placing an order for 5 vehicles for fiscal year 2025 is that one of the things that I have been very impressed by and always pleased that staff puts in this kind of effort is that over the course of the last 12 years I've been on this city council, quite a few times we would have a plan to replace 3 vehicles, and staff would come to us and say, one of them's doing okay, we only need to replace 2. And that has been a savings for our taxpayers, and I think that's a good way to do business for the long term when possible. So making these orders this far in advance for that many vehicles, and for that many vehicles that aren't the vehicles that we want, I think I'm going to have to vote against this. I don't think I can support it in the current frame.
The only thing I would offer with the police vehicles is they put on a predictable number of miles every year, so it's 30 or 35,000 miles per year. So by the time they get to the end of 3 years, it's 90 to 100,000 miles, and that's consistent. So it's a little more predictable than, say, like, when we get to that point, you start to know with all these vehicles what's going to be going wrong, what needs to be replaced, and that kind of stuff. With a public works pickup truck, a community development pool car, those are ones we have the ability to stretch because we don't put a lot of miles on those vehicles. Those can go 10, 12, sometimes 15 years. And I forgot how old our bucket truck is in Public Works because it doesn't go out during the winter very often. It's not getting the rust and the wear and tear. Those are the vehicles we are able to stretch out significantly, and we continue to delay replacing those. The police vehicles get replaced more regularly. They're rarely stretched purposely beyond the 3 years in the CMRP. Right now, we're doing it out of necessity, obviously, but
Administrator White?
Thank you. I just want to add that with the hybrid vehicles, one of the things that we ran into, it's not just that they don't know when they're going to manufacture them, but the ones that we ordered, they ended up after months then just canceling the order and telling us they have no idea when they're going to start manufacturing them again. So it's a bigger concern of the longer time frame and the uncertainty that we may wait months and months and not get a hybrid vehicle that we ordered. So I think we can get more information and try to ask our vendors if they have any estimates on when hybrid vehicles will be available again, and if there is some sort of timeline. But I think the last information we received was that they have at this point, no idea when they're going to start manufacturing hybrid vehicles again for these police interceptors or the Durangos. And the other limitation with the police vehicles specifically is that there's only Ford and Dodge that are manufacturing any kind of police vehicle. So there's not even an option to try to go through another manufacturer. And Ford, as Phil said, we ordered the fiscal year 23 vehicles in September and still do not have a timeline as to when they're going to be delivered. So they're extremely long wait times.
So the Dodge Durangos are hybrids, but they don't have any, they're not. Do they have a hybrid vehicle? Oh, so Ford is the only one that's got a hybrid vehicle that we could actually use as a police vehicle.
That's correct.
Okay. Did you have a comment? If you please go to the podium and say your name and address, please.
Larry Saccatelli, 30 West 180 Estes. Have you looked into the Toyota police interceptors? They have a hybrid model. I'm not sure if it's in their RAV4 series, but they do have the Camry police interceptors. So that may be an option you could look into.
Thank you for the information. That's very good. Alderman Lockett?
I'd like to make a motion, recommend City Council authorize staff to, 1, order 5 additional police pursuit vehicles scheduled for fiscal year 2025 replacement, provided the CMRP project bid results are favorable for the city, and 2, continue placing orders for scheduled vehicle and equipment replacements as ordering opportunities happen, and present to City Council at the next available Committee of the Whole meeting.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Lockett and a second by Alderman Kruschel. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
We have 4, we have 2 nays and 4, okay.
What about Kathy?
Kathy Davalos, would you like to vote on this, please?
Yeah, it's confusing. Yeah, I vote aye.
Okay. Motion then passes, correct? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Number 8, consideration of a intergovernmental agreement. 7. Consideration of professional services agreement to develop bid documents for an inflow and infiltration construction contract. Director Kukler.
thank you. As part of the city's ongoing infiltration and inflow reduction program, 51 manholes have been identified as needing repair between 2 of the sanitary sewer basins. The contract included with the agenda backup materials is with Engineering Enterprises to develop bid documents and perform construction observation on the construction project. EEI has done a good job on our previous I&I reduction projects, and their price is fair, so staff is recommending the City Council approve the $76,410 contract with EEI. And with that, I'd be happy to entertain questions.
Alderman Lockett is your hand. Okay. Mhm. Any questions or comments? Alderman Goodman?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend the City Council pass a resolution approving a professional services agreement with Engineering Enterprises Incorporated for the West 1 and Central 1 basins manhole rehabilitation in the amount of $76,410.
Second.
A motion by Alderman Goodman and a second by Alderman Lockett. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Now, number 8. Consideration of an intergovernmental agreement, Second Amendment with PACE to administer the Ride DuPage program. Analyst Youngmeyer, please.
Good evening again. A resolution has been prepared to accept the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Warrenville and PACE, the Suburban Bus Division of the Regional Transit Authority, to provide a one-year subsidy from PACE, and also to provide an Uber access service option that will provide PACE rides through Uber. In your packet of backup materials, there is a memo that further details the two additions in the amendment. There's also the resolution as well as the Second Amendment. I would be happy to take any questions that you guys have.
Okay, any questions or comments? Alderman Goodman?
I have several questions. I noticed that the actual expense has dropped by a factor of 3. What's our usage currently?
You said, like the frequency of rides?
Yeah, how many people are riding, or how many rides are we?
Sure. I did look over the past year because I did notice that it did seem to drop off significantly between 2021 and 22. Over the last year, I want to say there has been about anywhere from 6 to a dozen rides. It's not that often. 6 to a dozen rides. I did look at our Ride DuPage, those who are registered. There's 114 residents registered, but looking at unique riders over the past year, there's been a total of 20, and of those, there are some frequent flyers. I want to say there's probably 6 people that more consistently use it. If that helps.
Yeah, I had noticed on the February 1st invoice report that the PACE local share amount that we'd paid was only $747. So I wondered where we were at annually with that. I mean, is $747 a typical month?
Looking at the past year, I think it's ranged around like 400 to, I think maybe it's gotten around 800 is the range. I did look at the like average cost per ride for us over the last year, which is, I think it's come to, oh gosh, I do have that somewhere. Sorry, when I find that, I'll let you know. But I want to say like the average cost per ride was around $15. Yeah.
Okay, and I would have expected, if anything, there to have been, a drop-off maybe during 20 and 21 with an increase since then as more people are out and about.
Yeah.
So this recent drop-off is inexplicable to me. I would love some feedback on why we think that is, if we could ask the riders. I don't know what kind of outreach we have done recently to our riders or to the people in the community who are eligible to be using this program. Can Paula work on this?
Yeah, I can touch base with Paula and work with her to get information out about the program. Right now, I know there's information on our website. I think early this winter, they provided a video how to sign up, and I think that was posted on our website as well. But I can definitely meet with Paula, the communications coordinator, to see if there's some strategies we can work on.
Sorry, yes, communications coordinator, Kraft. Especially since it looks like we're going to be adding a new feature to the program. this Uber option, which goes to some parts of Naperville that are outside DuPage County as well as Wheatland Township. I wasn't quite sure about the details of this map. The service area seems to include Naperville. Is that going to be true for us as well if we participate in the Uber program?
So all of those who are registered in Ride DuPage are eligible for the Uber Access program if Warrenville as a sponsor allows it. Right now, we are not offering that. So that's, one of the suggestions we're making tonight is to have that as an option. And should we be offering that, it would be for DuPage County. So anything within DuPage County is where riders could use Uber.
Okay, so the maps that are attached that show that the Uber program also includes, I think it's page 9 of 9, where it says Wheatland Township, DuPage Township, and then it's described on a previous page, 7 of 9, where it says Uber will be available for trips within DuPage County only. Ride DuPage Uber access area includes all of the DuPage County Blue, all of the Wheatland Township Blue, and all of the city of Naperville, including the portion of the city of Naperville within DuPage Township. So we would be excluding that, or that comes with the Uber program?
My understanding is the Uber program for us would offer rides within the DuPage County boundaries.
Okay, that's not what it says.
Okay. I can check on that and clarify.
Okay, because if the service area is different, then that would be very important to communicate, have our communications coordinator talk to our residents about, because they may have, for instance, doctor's visits to the part of Naperville that are not in DuPage County and so on.
I'm pretty confident, but again, I'll check, but I'm pretty confident it's just within DuPage. This is a service that it's still fairly new. It started to be offered as a pilot program at the end of January 2022, and people can book rides through the Uber app, and they have a geo fence, so I think that's for those offering the ride. If they try to book a ride outside DuPage County, they can't. It just, the way programming works, it won't allow that. So, yeah, my understanding was it's just in DuPage County, but again, should this be something we offer, I'll make sure it's very clear on where that
Okay, get that clarified and get the exhibit corrected if it's wrong. I think those are all the questions I have. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, we need Alderman Lockett.
Just a quick comment. It's such a great service that we offer. And like Alderman Goodman said, it'd be interesting to see why more people don't use it. It says, they get subsidized $25, but the ride only costs them $5. I'm not sure why more people wouldn't take advantage of that with just some local trips here or there to wherever it may be. But I have a feeling once it gets posted somewhere, I think there's probably going to be a pretty big influx of people, so that's great. But with that being said, I'd like to make a motion that, where did it go? I'd like to make a motion that we pass a resolution approving the Second Amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with PACE and direct staff to add the Uber service option to Warrenville. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Lockett and a second by Alderman Kruckenberg. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Number 9, consideration of city code changes to install stop signs at 2 locations. Analyst Youngmeyer.
All right, I'm back. Okay. So staff have received 2 resident requests to install stop signs. Before I get into the description, in the backup materials, there is a map that helps show where these locations are. So Public Works and Police Department staff have reviewed these requests, and they are recommending to replace an existing yield sign on the east leg of the Jefferson Street, 2nd Street intersection to create a one-way stop where westbound Jefferson Street traffic stops for 2nd Street. I believe traffic traveling south on Winfield sometimes use this as a cut-through. So this stop sign replacing the yield will just add that extra safety. Staff is also recommending installing a new stop sign on the north leg of Haylett Avenue and Greenview Avenue's intersection for southbound traffic. Right now, there's just a stop sign on Haylett for northbound traffic. So this will create a two-way stop. And in both these cases, the police department has done a traffic count, and this supports these two recommendations. If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Okay, any questions or comments? Alderman Lockett?
I understand the Jefferson one. Everyone flies through there, right? They all try to avoid that light. Are people doing the same thing for the other one, for Haylett and Greenview? Does anybody know?
Director Kukler?
Thank you. No, they're not necessarily flying through there, but to have a four-way intersection without traffic control, I mean, there should have always been a two-way stop for Haylett. If you were to do that, I'm not sure why there wasn't originally, but there should be, at least traffic on Haylett should stop for traffic on.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? We have a motion, please. Alderman Kruckenberg?
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to recommend City Council pass an ordinance amending Section 5-4-2 of the Warrenville City Code regarding stop intersections.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Kruckenberg and a second by Alderman Ashour. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Number 10 is just the review and file Public Works Department FY 2023 work program and decision packages status report. This is information only. Does anyone have any questions at this point about the work plan? Seeing none. Okay. Now we go, and we have nothing under miscellaneous, but we do have a closed session. Alderman Goodman, would you like to read that, please?
I would like to make a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of 5 ILCS 120/2(c)(11), litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Goodman and a second by Alderman Kruckenberg. I need a voice, a roll call, please.
Alderman Goodman?
Aye.
Alderman Lockett?
Aye.
Alderman Widener?
He's absent.
Sorry, absent. Alderman Kruckenberg?
Aye.
Alderman Krischel?
Aye.
Alderman Berry?
Aye.
Alderman Ashour?
Aye.
Alderman Davalos?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passed.
Motion carries.
Carries. Thank you. We will be going into closed session, and
No business afterwards.
there is no business afterwards. Thank you.